Well, I guess we can basically just throw out the New York Mets season now. They lost the first game, and at that point, why even try, right? One loss, the whole season is over. Doomsday is here. The Juan Soto signing was completely worthless. Now, will he ever truly live up to that contract? I guess it all just comes down to how many championships the Mets can hoister while he is on their team. Good evening, everybody. My name is Craig. Welcome to MetropoliFins. We're going to give you a little bit of a rundown of everything that you need to know about the game today. We have to just come together. We got to mourn this opening day loss after being so amazing on opening day for so many years. The Mets have now lost back-to-back opening days. So this is not the type of trend that we want to start the season. Of course, it came down to Juan Soto at the plate in the top of the ninth inning. And of course, he did not come through. So that's going to give plenty of fuel for all of the haters. And I'm sure there'll be lots of great comments on Mets posts and forums and everything. But I will remind you, it is game one. This is a team the Mets have faced a ton in spring training too. So there's a little bit of an edge or an advantage. Hey, Red Man, you can express stuff to make sure you keep it clean. Okay, you gotta keep it clean here. So I don't mind just sharing your thoughts, but we do have to keep the chat clean. Family friendly here. We're family friendly. So anyway, let's break down a little bit of what you need to know. I think the biggest thing by far is simply this: the Mets bats did not show up. They got base runners on throughout the game, and they just simply weren't able to just get the runs home when they needed to do it. It's something they were doing consistently throughout spring training. But of course, spring training is not the regular season. Spring training is not the regular season. Spring training is spring training, and you've got to be able to show up in real games. And I've stated multiple times that this is the biggest thing that these Mets have to overcome is you have to get past this narrative of LOL Mets and you overpaid for Juan Soto, and you've got to build something that goes beyond this current narrative that has kind of stuck with this team even as they started to break out last season. You're going to have to do it now. One game does not ruin that, but it certainly doesn't help the talk around this team as being a team that is just kind of overrated or just kind of overpaid for Juan Soto and different things. Now, is Juan Soto ever going to be worth the contract that he signed? Again, I think it depends completely on what you mean by worth it. Worth it will be, it comes down to results on the field, right? And so will it be worth it if the Mets don't win any World Series? Then I think that answer is obviously no. Will it be worth it if the Mets can win 3 or 4 World Series while he's here? I think the answer is yes. And somewhere in between is that kind of gray zone. And Redman, you bring up a big thing. And this is an interesting thing right here, which is why can we not hit when there's guys on base? I know you meant guys, not gun, but anyway, why can't the Mets get hits when runners are on base? And is this going to be this similar problem? I mean, this goes all the way back to the Jacob deGrom days. All these times that Jacob deGrom would be pitching, shutout ball, and basically the Mets would still just not score any runs. Again, these are part of the working through that this team is going to have to do to reshape and rewrite the narrative that goes around them. And so, but here's the thing with sports is a narrative is a narrative in sports until it's no longer the narrative. So I remember there were so many over the years, right? It was Andy Reid can't win the Super Bowl. Does anyone say that now? No. But that was the narrative around Andy Reid. There was a narrative around Phil Mickelson. He could never win a major, right? And he would always choke until he wins a major. And then that's no longer the narrative. So the narrative around the Mets will be the narrative that they tend to choke in high pressure situations, that they cannot consistently get runners home once they get runners on base. Those things are going to be the narrative around this team till they prove consistently that they can do it. And whether it's rightfully earned or not, I think that label is not an unfair label in the very, very least. It's something that needs to be considered within that. So anyway, that's what we have. So what do we look at in terms of the overall? Well, let me do this. I'm going to actually bring up a little bit here. Let me bring up some stats from the game so we can look over this, because I don't want to be looking at, I'm not a super emotional fan. Like I have emotion in the moment. I enjoy the emotion of the game, like a big hit or different things like that. But I would much rather just dig into the stats, dig into the dirt a little bit, and see what we can see, and see what are the things that point out. Obviously, there's no such thing as a trend this early in the season. So let me go ahead and do this. We're going to bring up the stats from the game. Let's make sure. I want to make sure I have the right one that I'm bringing up here. Yep, that's the right one. We're going to share this with you guys here. And let's do that. Hopefully that makes it big enough so you guys can kind of see a little bit of the box score. All right. So again, I didn't get the chance to watch the whole game because my son had a Little League game tonight. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We got a kind of a cool end of game scenario. So I'm going to look right through here. So again, I'm just looking at the box scores, not looking at the play today. But you've got Lindor 0 for 4 with an RBI, 2 strikeouts. Obviously, that's not what we want. And Lindor tends to get off to a slow start. And I wonder if there would be some value just kind of moving Lindor somewhere lower in the lineup to start the season and throw Nimmo up at the top of the order or something like that. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of eyes on Lindor to say, you can't repeat that same performance that you had to start the season last year. Juan Soto, 1 for 3 with 2 walks and a strikeout. But of course, that strikeout was on a ball that was far out of the zone, and it was not a good pitch. And it's the type of pitch that Soto is known for not swinging at. And I'm sure he was feeling the pressure of wanting to come through in that situation. I mean, that's exactly what you wanted as a Mets fan, right? Juan Soto to come out with 2 outs in the top of the ninth, 2 runners on, chance to tie the game or take the lead. I'm sure he was feeling a lot of pressure in that moment. That doesn't necessarily excuse a bad swing, but I'm sure that plays into everything. But honestly, if you tell me that 3 out of every 5 at bats Juan Soto's getting on base, that's going to be exactly what you're going to want to see there. Pete Alonso, 1 for 2, 2 walks today, which is absolutely beautiful to see. Yeah, Pete didn't strike out at all today, Red Man. So Pete Alonso, 1 for 2, 2 walks, on base percentage of 750. So that was a great day for him today. Again, getting on base. And then we get to where it gets a little bit dicier. So Mark Vientos went 0 for 3 with a walk. I cautioned everybody, like, yes, he was looking good in the preseason, but you have to expect some regression, especially early on as you get into the second season, kind of a sophomore slump for Mark Vientos. So I would caution Mets fans to be patient with Vientos. Don't be calling for his head right away if he gets off to a slow start. Remember, there was not a lot of film out on Vientos last year. Now, teams, analytics departments have a whole lot more data, a whole lot more film on Vientos, and they're going to pitch him tougher, and they're going to do a lot more regarding that. Nimmo, 1 for 4. Marte, 1 for 3 with a strikeout, a run scored. Tyron Taylor, 1 for 4. Again, none of those things are horrible. I understand the matchup thing. I was not a fan of starting Acuna today. I think you need to, if basically the idea was who would have had the spot had Jeff McNeil been healthy. So had Jeff McNeil been healthy, yeah, Soto's the best player. Well, we'll see. We shall see how it goes. And I believe if McNeil had not been healthy, or had been healthy, sorry, if McNeil had been healthy and McNeil had not been out, that Beatty has that spot. And of course, McNeil would have started over Beatty. But I don't think you start Acuna in this. I think you owe it to Beatty, who's coming out on fire. I was very surprised that Beatty was not in the starting lineup, not because of matchups, but just because of earning the position. And I think that Acuna came in last year, and I don't want to say there was no pressure on him, but there was no expectation that Acuna was going to replace Francisco Lindor. He was just kind of there to be a defensive replacement, and if he can hit, great. And of course, he hit great in what was maybe an unexpected time frame. But to put him in the starting lineup today, that puts a lot of pressure on him. And I don't know if I would really say that he's earned that opening day slot. And again, that might be a little bit there. But he did have a walk today, but I think Beatty would have been a much better play here. Torrens went 1 for 2. Winker was a pinch hitter, and Sanger also came in as as the replacement catcher later on down the line. But you know what I'm seeing here? Nobody with a 2-hit game. Some walks, some patience at the top of the lineup. But if teams learn that all they're going to have to do to get through this lineup is attack Lindor, pitch around Soto and Alonso, and then just go after everybody else. If that's going to be the strategy, especially early on in the season, I think that the Mets are gonna have to make some adjustments here. And I do think that this was batting order wise, lineup wise. I think all of that. This was probably the type of floor game that you can expect from this team. Now, I don't expect there to be many games. It's very unfortunate that this was the first game of the season, but this is the floor game. This is about the worst of the worst that you're going to see this team. Doesn't mean Soto's not going to have an 0 for 4. Doesn't mean individual players won't have worse days. But as a team, a 6-hit, again, you're going against Framber Valdez. You're on the road. Getting some of the jitters out, different things. This team still needs to gel together, needs to find some identity. But I'm going to say two things, my two cautions. One, this team needs to not do what they did last year. They need to not get behind in the standings by 3, 4, 5, 6 games. They need to be pushing these other teams right from the start. Phillies won today. We'll go a full scoreboard update here for you in a second too, just so you can catch any of the games that you didn't get to see. But this team needs to stay competitive early on, and this team needs to find its identity early on, because simply put, this team is not last year's team. And for that reason, I'm actually glad that Iglesias is not back, because this team is going to have to find its own special identity. It's going to have to make its own magic that is going to be different and distinct from last year's team. But at the same time, it's different because there is more pressure in the sense of expectations on this team. I don't think any individual player has more pressure. I think the vast majority of the pressure is on Soto and Lindor. And again, Soto will take the vast majority of the heat for today. But again, you can also put a lot of this on Lindor. 0 for 4 from the leadoff spot with 2 strikeouts is definitely, that's not what you want from a leadoff hitter. And again, I didn't see how those at-bats look, so I can't comment on them super specifically, but this is something that needs to be watched. So this team needs to not get off to a bad start. They need to stay close to everybody. And within that, then beyond that, this team needs to find its identity, and they need to find it early on. All right. So that's what we have. That. Let me just go over all the scores here from the day. Just really quick, in case you haven't seen, there's actually 2 games that are starting. There's 1 game still going on right now. The Dodgers are beating the Tigers 5-3. So that is the current. Let me just bring this up on the screen so you guys can see that as well. Let's bring up this here. Here's all the scores for the day so far. And again, I'll make it big for you so you can hopefully see all this. All right. So the Cardinals beat the Twins 5-3. Like I said, the Dodgers are also beating the Tigers 5-3 as we speak. New York Yankees beat the Brewers 4-2. So good job knocking down one of our National League rivals. The Orioles absolutely destroyed the Blue Jays today, 12-2. And there's kind of a cool note from that game in case you hadn't seen it. Tyler O'Neill has homered in his 6th straight opening day game. It is a major league record. He actually set the record last year. The previous record was 4, which was tied. He set the record with 5 last year and he expanded the record. And so that was for the Orioles today. He did that. Boston Red Sox. A lot of people like the Red Sox. I like the Orioles, both of those teams, but out of the AL East. So you got a 3-way tie out of the AL East right out the door. Yankees, Orioles, Red Sox. Red Sox won 5-2. Phillies beat the Nationals in extra innings. Actually, it was 7-3. Fortunately, we still have the Manfred Man in extra innings, and so you end up with games that should not look like blowouts be blowouts because of just similar thing happened in Kansas City. Guardians beat the Royals 7-4 in extra innings. Of course, your Mets lost 3-1. The Reds also lost the Giants 6-4. And the Braves lost to the Padres, so there's a little good news for Mets fans as well. White Sox beat the Angels 8-1. That's not the way the Angels want to start their season. And the Marlins, who everyone was saying could have a White Sox-like season this year, at least, they're not going to be the last team to get a win. They beat the Pirates 5-4. So that is the breakdown for all of the results. Why Mets starting pitcher cannot go 7 innings? Yeah, well, it's just the nature of the game nowadays. It is the nature of the game nowadays that you just have to wait a while. And a lot of these guys are going to be on strict pitch counts. Let's look at the pitch counts, by the way. Holmes pitched 89 pitches. That's about what he was doing in spring training. The problem was it only got him through 4.2 innings. Huascar Brazaban, kudos to him. He pitched really well today. 2 1/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. And so that was great for him. And then Danny Young also came in, gave up 1 hit in 1 inning of relief work as well. And so kudos to the Mets bullpen today. Brazaban and Danny Young both showed out today. That's exactly what the Mets needed. And so to only have to use 2 relievers when your starter goes 4 2/3 innings, that is absolutely great for that. All right. Then the reason that I was not able to cover the game live, though we did stream the game cast. So thank you to everybody who watched the game cast. Saw something like 800 people tuned in at one time or another for the game cast, which is really awesome. And so I appreciate all of you who did tune in over there, helping out the channel. But I was at a game tonight. My son had his little league game, and we played the Pirates. Thank you, Redman. Appreciate it. I got to throw that up on the screen. I don't get too many people saying I'm awesome, so we'll throw that up on the screen. That's why I'm still in my little league gear. So I'm one of the coaches for the team. I run the game changer, which is basically the stats, and yell random things from the dugout, encouraging words and stuff like that. So, but anyway, we had a game tonight. We also played the Pirates, not from our own division, but from one of the leagues near us. And it was actually the league that my son was in last year. So one of his teammates from his all-star team from last year is playing today. So he was really happy to get a hit off of him, and it was kind of fun for him going back and forth. And he also got to pitch. He pitched, I don't remember exactly what it was, 1 1/3 innings pitched, about 40 pitches, had 2 or 3 strikeouts, and it was the most pitching that he had ever done in a game. Most pitching he had ever done in a game yesterday. And so, or tonight, not yesterday. Wow, my brain is already checking out. Yeah, it was the most pitching that he had ever done in a game. And it was back and forth affair. And anyway, my son was a starting pitcher. He pitched the first and into the second, and then he played center field after that. That's his primary position the rest of the time. Well, it was a back and forth game, and it came down to the bottom of the 5th inning, which was going to be the final inning due to time restrictions. Bottom of the 5th inning, and we were down, and my son was due up second, the leadoff batter, and she was telling me they might be watching this, so she wanted a shout out because she ended up getting the game ball, Danielle. So shout out to you, Danielle. She got the game ball today because she walked in the leadoff position 3 times and scored 3 runs. I think there were 3 steals at home, if I remember correctly. The bats were a little light tonight for our team. The bats were light for the bats. Anyway, but lots of good base running for this team. And anyway, so she got on, and when my son was up, he hit the ball nice. This was in the bottom of the inning. He had previously in the game, he got in a hit and a walk as well and scored a couple runs. Or I scored 1 run at least. I can't remember. Anyway, he hit the ball right to the fielder. She was able to move up to second base. And he was thrown out, but the team continued to rally after that. She scored, and then we got our next runner in, which tied the game. And so then we were tied, but we knew it was going to be the last inning. And in Little League, games can end in a tie. And our final batter got up, well, who turned out to be our final batter, and he walked. And on the walk, then he stole second. And I'm trying to remember exactly how all of it played out, but there's a lot of chaos, a lot of throws. And then anyway, after he got to second, they were still throwing the ball around. He got to third, and the ball got loose, and he ran all the way around, and he scored. So we had a walk-off inside the park, home run. I don't even know what home walk. It was a home walk. I don't know what you call it. In Game Changer, I put it in as a walk with 3 stolen bases because nobody really knows at that point. It was just mass chaos on the field. So, Redman, great question. How do you feel that your son loves baseball as you do and you get to spend time? I love it. I love being in. I know there's going to be a time when I will no longer be able to be a coach for him. I don't have high-level baseball coaching skills. And so I'm just enjoying the moments now where I get to be with him and get to be a coach with him and teach him things that I can teach him. And fortunately, over his many years in baseball, he has had amazing coaches, different coaches with different styles, different ideas, but every single coach he's had has pushed him and stretched him, and really has they've never he's never been given anything, which I really like. He's had to earn everything, and he's had to prove, and it's good because if he was given things, he wouldn't work as hard as he does. And I mean, he's still, there's times as a dad, I certainly feel like, man, I wish he would work more. I wish he would practice more. But I do know he practices more than a lot of other kids do. And it shows. It shows on the field. And it shows when he's able to do things. And so even though he hasn't pitched a lot, he has thrown a lot. He's played catch a lot. And he goes out and he hits off his tee and he does pitching stretches at home and different things like that. And so he puts the work in, and so that is a key part. So it's fun that I get to do it, and yeah, obviously, if he keeps progressing in his baseball career, maybe someday he won't want to play anymore. But if he keeps progressing in his baseball career, there's going to come a point where I'm not going to have anything new to teach him. But right now, thank you, Red Man. Appreciate the kind words. I do appreciate it. But yeah, it's fun, and I'm enjoying the moment because that's what it is. Enjoy the moment that it's in. It's very possible that I won't be a coach next year, right? I have no idea what next year is going to bring. Don't know what team he's going to end up on. Don't know what league he is. Don't know if he's going to be AAA or majors. Don't know any of those things. So I'm just enjoying the opportunity to coach him today, and I like that, and I appreciate that, and it's good, and it's fun to have him. It's fun to have him come into the dugout, give me a hug when he has a good play, and it's one of the things that I've actually enjoyed most about watching him this year is how he processes his failures a lot better this year. He used to come off the field kind of crying or upset, and this year, you can tell he gets frustrated, but he internalizes it and he takes it on and he gets right back with it with the team. Like tonight, of course, he wanted to hit the ball. He wanted to have the big hit in the bottom of the fifth inning that would move the runner up, and it just didn't go. But he made a good swing. He got a bat on the ball. He just hit it right to him. And that's what it is. Yeah, no crying in baseball. Well, whoever said that has not worked with T-ballers and AAA and little league kids, because that's how it goes sometimes. So, but yeah, no, it's really good, fun to do. So we won the game with a walk-off walk, and so again, shout out to you, Danielle, for winning the game ball, receiving the game ball. That's probably the right word. Receiving the game ball. And for all the work. And she did it on a night where she's one of our best pitchers too. She did it on a night where she didn't even have to pitch. So that was pretty cool. It's kind of a joint game ball based off the previous game too. It's hard. These kids are good. They're good ball players. And even the ones who don't have spectacular days, a lot of times have just amazing contributions to the team throughout the game in a variety of different ways. Like we had a couple of kids that were up for game ball tonight, and it's like only one game ball, so you just got to pick one, and but it doesn't mean that anyone was less appreciated than the other. So that's what we got for tonight. I don't think I have too much more, but I appreciate everybody. I haven't decided if I'm going to turn on some streams for the late night games or not yet. We'll see if we do something like that. But for now, I appreciate you. Make sure you guys hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Tell me, is the end near for this Mets team, or should we not give up on the season quite yet after one game? All right, I appreciate all of you. Let's go Mets, baby.